We want to share with you moments that we both had. I guess we could call them aha moments, where it struck us that there was a deeper moral and ethical implication to the decisions we had already made. Mm-hmm. We were already in this. We had both already done IVF, but then we separately had moments of clarity or reality check, and that caused us to want to dig into this entire topic on a deeper level.
So my moment, I'll never forget, I was driving to work and I was listening to a Christian radio station that I always listen to. And they were having a guest on talking about IVF, which I'm, excited, turning up the volume, mm-hmm. like, oh, this will be so interesting, which it was.
I've done this before.
I know, right? And nobody talked about it. I feel like
yes.
that was the thing that was
yes.
surprising. Like, Christians don't really talk about this on
yep.
Christian radio or anywhere that mm-hmm. I had heard. So it was kind of like, oh my goodness, this is cool.
Yeah.
And as I'm listening to what they're saying, they're talking about basically, most methods of IVF, like they do not agree with as Christians, and that they don't think any embryos should be frozen ever. And here I am, like I just frozen embryos like in the last year, yep. kind of like panicking a little bit.
Yes.
And they were really promoting the idea of like, if you're going to do IVF, you should do a completely fresh cycle every time so that you don't have to freeze anything. And again, my initial reaction is like I could never afford that. First of all, mm-hmm. like I would never want to put my body through that egg retrieval process over and over again. That's so much to do. And so, honestly, my first reaction was to get defensive. Like I'm kind of mad. Like, okay, here talks this radio host who has 5 kids that he always talks about. Yes. Like, you don't know what it's like to go through infertility. And so I wanted to be defensive, but thankfully, I feel like the Lord was working on my heart to be like, you know what, just because I've done this, I don't want to be closed off to other people's ideas and other mm-hmm. realizations as I move forward. So it really did cause me to dive deeper and dig a little more into this aspect of IVF.
Yeah. And piggybacking on that defensiveness, I do think some voices that we started to hear were people, several people that had 4, 5, 6 children who had not struggled with infertility at all. And so that was really hard to not say, you don't know the feeling. Mm-hmm. And so you don't know how hard this is. And yeah, we both experienced that. And that's a challenging place to be. But for me, my moment was when we had also already done IVF. We had frozen our embryos, and we were talking with some family. And of course, they were questioning and wondering, how many embryos did you get? This is really exciting, and excited for us. But then we had chosen not to share our number of embryos at that time. And so I remember a family member saying, don't worry, we will not judge you for whatever decisions you make with your embryos down the road. And that word judge really stuck with me. And it was something that I pondered, and I remember kind of losing sleep over and thinking through of, oh, we're going to be judged for this. Like other people
maybe not by that person, but probably by someone else.
Yes. And like people are looking at our situation and they're considering it and they're forming their own opinions and their own beliefs and ideas. And so it I guess led me to the point of needing to have a better foundation and a better rebuttal and a better answer, and really think through it in a way, again, that wasn't defensive, but that was, this is why we believe what we believe and how we feel about it moving forward.
Right. So those experiences for both of us led us to dig a little deeper. I mean, we've listened to a lot of podcasts. We have different books that we've read and just like looked into different Christian opinions about IVF and what the rationale is behind their beliefs and trying to understand that better. And so instead of just being defensive, like you don't get it because you haven't been there. Well, just because this was hard for us doesn't necessarily justify everything that we did
right
to get our kids. And so that's kind of where we were at with it. Like, I don't want to be closed-minded and not exploring these ideas, because ultimately we do think there are better ways to do IVF than the way that we did it.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to help other people see. There are better ways so that you don't end up in this boat like us. And again, we also want to recognize, we know there are people who are doing IVF and getting 0 embryos. So we realize we're presenting a different side of things, because some people have the other side.
Everyone's journey is so different with infertility and IVF.